AI could wipe out half of all entry-level white-collar jobs and spike unemployment to 10 to 20% in the next 1 to 5 years.
There's something about Indian tech that's been bothering me for a while now. हम दुनिया की largest software industries में से एक है. Indian engineers build technology for banks, airlines, global retailers, Fortune 500 companies, and some of the biggest companies on this planet. But open your phone for a second. Your search engine, your social media, the OS running on your phone, the developer tools that people like us use every single day. And ask yourself, how many of the dominant software products actually come from India? And that always feels strange to me, because if we are this good at building softwares, why don't we own more of it? And then I started researching this video and almost immediately realized that this question is little unfair, because obviously India builds product. Zoho, Freshworks, Postman, BrowserStack, Razorpay, and plenty of more. We have built a massive digital infrastructure. So the question isn't really, can Indians build world-class tech? That part isn't really debatable anymore. The better question is, how did a country with this much technical capability become far more famous for selling software services than owning software products? And I think understanding that changes how we think about Indian tech today. Let's go back to early 1990s. The world needed software, and India had a large pool of technically skilled English-speaking engineers, and our cost was significantly lower than the market like US. And infrastructure like Software Tech Parks of India was explicitly designed to make software export easier. And what happened next was massive. Software exports from STPI registered units were around 52 crores. That number by 2024-25 went up to 10.69 lakh crores. Companies like TCS, Wipro, Infosys became global giants by doing exactly what the market was rewarding, selling Indian engineers' capability to the world. That created millions of careers. It brought enormous revenue to India. It gave Indian engineers exposure to some of the largest systems on this planet. So I don't think the right story is India chose the wrong path. Services worked extremely well. And maybe that's exactly the point. Because once a model works at that scale, the entire ecosystem starts to optimize for it. Companies know how to sell it, managers know how to deliver it, engineers know what the career looks like inside. University knows what skills employers are demanding. Capital understands the economy. And services business have one massive advantage. If you win the work, somebody is already paying you. On the other hand, product companies are something different. You can spend years building something that nobody ends up wanting. You need product market fit, distribution, retention, capital, and sometimes you need to lose money for years even before the business makes sense. So maybe India didn't become service heavy because we can't build products. Maybe the services became so successful that everything around us learned to optimize for it. You can still see that structure today. Take Infosys. In quarter ending June 2026, it reported roughly 45,876 crores from software services and just 2,335 crores from products and platform. That's roughly 95% of services and 5% product. Now that's one company, one quarter, and one accounting classification. And it's not the ratio for all Indian tech, but it makes underlying model very easy to see. Then you run into something like this. In July 2026 alone, UPI processed around 23.66 billion transactions, worth nearly 30 lakh crores in 1 month. And when you put that next to companies like Zoho, Postman, and Razorpay, something becomes pretty obvious. Whatever the problem is, raw technical capability is clearly isn't. Because building softwares and building software companies are two completely different things. Take Co. For a while, it looked like India might have actually got a serious alternative for Twitter, now called X. It raised more than $60 million. It gained millions of users and it had a huge national visibility. And in 2024, it shut down because writing the app was only one part of the problem. You need distribution, you need users to stay, you need monetization, you need business model, you need capital, you need network effects, and you need execution. And that's why I don't really agree with the argument that we should support Indian products blindly just because they are Indian. No. If the product is bad, it should become better. The goal isn't to use or promote Indian products just because they are Indian. The goal should be build products from India that are so good that the world wants to use them. So then what's actually holding us back? And when I started researching this, I wanted one clear villain. Government, funding, culture, education. something, right? But now I don't think there's one. It's probably some combination of all of them. Risk appetite matters, capital matters, distribution matters, R&D matters, failure tolerance matters, and policies matters. And yes, system can absolutely improve. But then there's something that we all have heard. यार इंडिया में स्टार्टअप के लिए ना सिस्टम बिल्कुल सपोर्ट नहीं करता. And maybe there are absolutely things about the ecosystem that needs to be improved. But before I use this as my excuse, have I actually tested it? Because India today has more than 2 lakh DPIIT recognized startups. There are seed funding programs, incubators, IP supports, procurement provisions, and Startup India reports more than 27,000 crores of funding through these initiatives. So does that mean building company here is easy? Obviously not. But before I say nothing exists, I should probably understand what actually does. And this is where I think the conversation gets really interesting, because the economic assumptions that help create Indian IT are changing. For decades, a lot of service work had fairly intuitive relationship. More projects required more people meant more deliverable capacity. More capacity meant more revenue. But now AI has started breaking that relationship. One engineer can increasingly do more, and most of the projects may need fewer people. And some work that was repeatedly performed across clients can now become a reusable software product. And suddenly a headcount becomes weaker proxy for value. But that does not mean Indian IT is dying. That's way too simplistic. TCS, for example, reported an annual AI services revenue run rate of approximately $2.1 billion in Q1 FY27. Indian IT companies are already adapting. Reuters has reported companies are experimenting with recurring revenues, reusable platforms, and even some people in the industry calling it service as software. And I find that phrase fascinating, because the future isn't simply services or products. Maybe AI has started collapsing the boundaries between them. A service company can turn years of expertise into reusable software. A smaller engineering team can create far more leverage. A founder sitting in India can increasingly build for the world without needing the size of organization it used to. So maybe AI isn't the end of Indian IT. Maybe it's forcing Indian IT to answer one harder question. What is our engineering capability worth when value is no longer proportional to the number of hours we sell? But here's the problem with everything that I have said so far in this video. I keep asking, why aren't we building more? Why aren't we creating these companies? And why aren't we taking bigger bets? But I'm a software engineer and I am part of that we. And it's very convenient for me to sit here and say why Indian engineers haven't built global software products while waiting for some other engineer to do it. Maybe the question we should be asking ourselves is, what have we actually tried to build? And right now the answer for me is not enough. And I'm not saying every engineer should just quit their job and start a company. I'm not saying we need Indian version of every single product in the world. But maybe some of us, me included, need to stop waiting for someone else to take that shot, not because somebody told us it's our duty, because we are definitely capable of trying. And I started researching this because I wanted to understand why India hadn't built more of a tech it uses. Somewhere along the way, that question has definitely changed. I can keep asking why they didn't build it, or I can spend next few years finding out what happens when I try. And I think I have answered the question long enough.